Hey guys, what's up? Tim Queen here, and today we're going to talk about how to create content on LinkedIn that actually works. I'm going to share the top 5 content mistakes that most beginners make and 5 ways how you can get around them and actually create content that really resonates with your audience. Number one mistakes that people make when they're creating LinkedIn content and the content is not working for them is that they don't look at their audience the right way. They look at their audience as potential prospects, not as people. And when you start looking at people as prospects, then it's kind of like how a lion looks at like an antelope, like a source of food. You're no longer on the same playing field. And what that actually means in practice is when you're creating content, it becomes kind of like often too tactical, like meaning people trying too hard to kind of convince a person. It becomes about kind of like this forceful energy where you no longer creating authentic content, because it's not about you sharing authentic content. It's about you convincing them, like you're stroking them, choking them, so they take the action that you want. And when you create content like this with a motivation, then you're actually creating it's a dissonance. Like people don't really they can feel it. And it doesn't get you the results because people can sense that you are manipulating them, or you trying to manipulate them, trying to get them to think a certain way. And that's definitely not the content that works on LinkedIn. So, and in that moment, when you're thinking about another person as oh, this is a prospect, you want to sell them something, it becomes about kind of almost too forceful of an energy, manipulative even. And people can sense that when you talking to them, they don't really see you as a person anymore. They see you as a predator, like a salesperson. And this is not really what you want to be perceived as on LinkedIn. You want to become like a person people generally like. And in order for that, you need to create better and content that is completely different. I'm going to show you exactly how later. The second mistake that people do when they're creating content on LinkedIn, they're creating content for themselves, not for their audience. And when I'm saying that is, don't think so much about what is interesting to you, or don't take you as the benchmark for what people know. You are obviously the expert, and that means when you're creating content, it's very easy once you know a certain amount of knowledge about topic X, Y, Z. It's very easy to forget to see the world through a beginner's eyes. And when you're creating content is meant for you, then you're disconnecting with people who have a beginner's mindset, who are not that knowledgeable as you. And you really have to remind yourself what it's like to know nothing. And when you are in this beginner's mindset and you really understand what would someone what is the thought process that a beginner, if you want to work with someone, what is the beginner's mindset? What are the typical thought mistakes that people make, the typical biases? If you didn't know all the stuff that you know now, it's very easy to come to the wrong conclusions, and you have to kind of put yourself back in there, and you really have to be open-minded about this, not be judgmental about this at all. It's not anyone's fault if people don't know this. People do stupid stuff, but they just don't know any better. And if you didn't know all the stuff that you would know today, you would probably make the same mistakes. So it's really important to avoid this, to create content for yourself. You want to create content for your audience and be complete understanding what they need, what they know, and how you can help them. And the third mistake is holding back value. Especially very common in consulting businesses where people feel, no, I can't tell them this because when I tell them this, then I can do it themselves and I'm losing the sale. So I have to kind of keep it hidden, and I kind of just have to beat around the bush and hope that they kind of are so desperate that they then come to me. You see what you're doing then? It's you're holding back. You are coming from a scarcity mindset. You are anxious about that you're not good enough, that they want to spend money on you to get you to do the work. So, and when you are doing that, people can feel it in your content. It shows through in every word you write, every sentence you write, every sentence you speak. And when people sense that you're a very anxious person, you're very in a very scarcity mindset, it's the last thing they want to like. This is the last thing people want to follow, and like the last thing that people want to work with you. So that's really important to let go of this kind of, we have to keep everything to ourselves. We have to protect the secret. To be honest, like there's not many secrets left in the world. It's all about execution of doing it. And I'm going to tell you exactly how you can actually like get the most outstanding results by actually revealing everything you know later. The fourth mistake that people make is about a wrong assumption what content is actually supposed to do. A lot of people think about content they have to impress someone, like the audience. So like, hey, if I can show off and I can show them like my results that I got, and I show them like how much money I made, and like what kind of house I own, and like what kind of car I drive, they're going to be so impressed. They want to definitely work with me. And this is the complete wrong mindset. It's not about showing off and impressing people. It's about serving people. And if you can generally help people, they're more likely that they want to work with you than showing off like any results that you might have. There is still a place for results, but not in the way of that you have to kind of impress your audience. It's also is another way, another reflection, another mirror image of, it's another version of the scarcity mindset that you feel you need to impress people in order for them to want to work with you. Like, if you're 100% confident in yourself, you don't really have to impress. You just have to be there. You have to be yourself, share value, serve your audience and your community, and people want to work with you. And mistake number 5 is another misconception about content. Thinking content is about promotion, not about connection. A lot of people seem to think that content is the same as buying ads on LinkedIn or to pay for an advertisement, whatever medium. And it's not about promotion, it's about connection. The reason why you're creating the content is because you want to connect with people, and the content is one way of doing that. I'll give you a good example. It's actually a very human experience. Let's say you're working in a company and there is a team building workshop, and all of you get into a bus and you're driving like for a few hours, get somewhere up in the mountains, and then everyone is doing like a hiking experience and hiking the mountains, maybe taking some rafting down the river. There is some blood and tears. Everyone is completely exhausted at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, because you have endured this hardship together, there is a much stronger bond between people. And it doesn't matter if it is an explicit team building session, or if you are going on a little trip with your friends, or even like if you are like as a family, if you're going through some hardship and you're overcoming that, it just ties people closer together. It's the experience of like overcoming a hurdle together, which bonds people. And you can use content in the same way to connect with people by sharing some of your struggles and like your challenges and like how you overcame them. It's a way of you actually humanizing yourself and forming a bond with your audience, because people want to work with people they really like and they resonate with. And that's what content is all about. So you don't see your content as a promotion or an ad. It's not. It's about, the main purpose of content is about connecting with the people who are watching your content. Okay, so how can you actually create authentic LinkedIn content? I'm going to share a goal, and I hope my goal will become your goal. And once you understand why this is my goal, it will really be easy to understand why this is like so powerful. I want you to think of, when you want to create LinkedIn content, authentic LinkedIn content, creating content that feels like there is no strings attached. This is really like the essence of what kind of content you want to create. You genuinely want the other person to succeed. And when you're sharing something, you're not holding back. You're not saying, oh, this tip is too good, I can only share this in a paid context. You're not holding back and like, oh, I'm going to tell them like the first 2 steps, but the 3rd step, I'm going to keep a secret. You're not going to think about worrying about, oh, if I share this tip, then my competitor is going to steal that. Or I'm not going to share this because if I tell them like the entire secret, then they're just going to do it themselves. Really detach yourself from the outcome and just have this trust and this knowledge and understanding that if you actually share content without any strings attached, you just generally share what really works, people will feel it. They will feel your sincerity. They will feel your authenticity. They will feel the value, and they will feel connected with you. Sure, some people might not have the money to work with you, but they didn't have the money in the first place. And if you were forcing them to work with you because you held back the secret, they will just feel like a grudge, because that money might have been like important for another reason. Maybe that was supposed to go and like pay for like a medical procedure, or like something really important, pay for the class trip for that child. So if you're forcing them to take out their emergency money to pay for your services because you like held back the one secret that they couldn't get anywhere else, they will feel the grudge against you. On the other hand, if you are actually very genuine and you're like very generous and you're sharing without any strings attached, you will attract way more people. There is a lot of people who have the disposable income to want to work with you, or who are just looking for someone who want to done the execution and exceptionally well. And they could do it themselves, but they choose not to, because they much rather have someone who knows this more, is more capable, has more experience, and can save them time. So if you can convince this one person that you are genuinely want to help them, it makes it way more likely, and I would say like a effect of about 50 to 100% at least, that might push them over the edge to say, okay, I feel convinced enough, I want to work with that person. So here are the 5 tips that you need to do in order to create this kind of authentic, genuine content on LinkedIn. You need to lead with openness and generosity. And the best way you can actually do that is by imagining you talking to someone else. Think of like your best friend from school. They just started their new business and they want to succeed. I haven't seen them in a long time. You didn't even know they were doing that in business. And all of a sudden, like you learn from them what they're up to, you're talking again, and they share like a specific business struggle with them. And you generally want them to succeed. How would you explain that to them? This is the kind of content that you want to create on LinkedIn. Imagine that you're explaining it to your brother, your sister, your mom opening new business, your father, your uncle, your best friend from high school. Doesn't matter, like whatever works for you, so you can genuinely feel you want to help them. Imagine that as the person reading your content, watching your videos, and when you like writing the script for them, the audience will feel it and they will feel connected with you. The second thing that you need to do is you have to be relatable and authentic. And one of the best ways how you can actually do that is by sharing a story, like where you were in a similar situation, because nothing sells better than hearing from someone that they went through a similar thing themselves. A lot of people like don't want to work with someone because they don't want to look stupid. I feel like, yeah, I should kind of know this. I should be able to figure this out by myself. What is the person going to think about when I'm telling them that I'm struggling with that? You might think that's kind of silly, but it's actually way more common than you think. And if people feel judged in any way, shape, or form, they don't want to share that they have a struggle. Like, just look at the comment section of people very self-conscious about writing comments. When I ask like questions in the past and posts, and ask people to share their story, their struggles, this is almost like silence, because nobody wants to admit this publicly. Everyone feels, it's a funny thing, everyone thinks everyone else is way smarter. Nobody has the same issues. Well, in fact, everyone has the same issues, and but it feels kind of like most people feel uncomfortable about this. So, and the best way how you can actually break this is by sharing a story how you struggled yourself. I remember one time I went to an NLP workshop, and one of the techniques that one of the trainers taught me and was actually was super powerful. I'm going to share it with you now. And let's say one person was sharing a story, and it said like they were feeling anxious in a certain situation. Maybe they were scared of spiders, or maybe they have an issue with conflicts with different people that makes them feel uncomfortable. And so when the trainer wanted to kind of create some kind of community feeling, he would always ask, who can relate? But he wouldn't just say that. He would always do this. Who else can relate? And he would raise his arm. And I asked him like why he was doing that, and he told me, you have to, even if he has not the same issue, just him as the leader standing up, raising his arm, say like, yeah, I can relate to that. It makes it okay to share that you had the same struggle. And the same is true when you're creating content. When you're there and you showing that you're not perfect, you are an imperfect being like everyone else, like your readers. You had the same struggles like them had, or different struggles in different areas. And you had to work hard. You were frustrated. You were looking for answers. You don't find them. It just humanizes you, and it makes it way more relatable. People are way more open to actually reach out to you, send you a message, a connection request, or even leave a comment. If they feel it's okay, you're not going to judge them because you're just like them. This is what you have to remind your audience. It's very easy when you're creating content on LinkedIn for people to think, oh, you're like this half god over there, perfect being, never made any mistakes. It's really important to humanize you, because when people feel like you're just another human being like everyone else, they feel way more comfortable talking to you and sharing a struggle that they feel you can help them with. And this is really maybe the most powerful thing I'm going to tell you today. When you're creating authentic LinkedIn content, you really want to humanize yourself and make the reader, the viewer, realize you're on the same level. You're not like above them, you're at the same level. And you were at the same level where they were before. Maybe now you're here, but you're certainly not above the clouds over here. And that really will make a huge difference in your LinkedIn content. So the third tip that I want to give you, I want you to think about when you're creating content as kind of creating like a library of problems. Like, think of it like you're the Wikipedia for all the different problems. For every problem in the world, there's a Wikipedia page and you give them a solution. And today you're going to talk about how to solve A. Tomorrow is going to be about B. 2 days later about C. And at the end of the day, eventually you're going to talk about A to Z of all the problems every potential customer could eventually ever face in their life. No matter how big or small. Not going to treat them any different. Doesn't matter if this is just a very beginner problem or something that only an expert might encounter. You treat every problem the same. When you're creating content about problems and you're creating this kind of library, you're creating like a resource library, like a dictionary. People like to have a dictionary at home. They might not want to look at it every single day, but they feel very comfortable that it's there. And that's when you're getting people to follow you, because they're just like, no, eventually one of these days, I'm going to face a challenge where I just find the right resources from this person. And it's worth bookmarking the person by following them on LinkedIn or sending them a connection request. Or if you're doing any other challenges, subscribing or any form of connecting with people. For example, when you go to an event, like people ask you for your business card, that means they feel you provided so much value. They want to have a bookmark. When something comes up in the future, they want to know, I can call this person, I can send them an email, I can connect on LinkedIn. The fourth tip that I have is to ask for engagement genuinely. Not as a means to create engagement for the algorithm, although, of course, that's also partially true. But if you actually ask, I feel like the best form of engagement is really engagement that actually creates values for your readers. I'll give you an example. Instead of asking people to like your content or your post, you could ask them a question, and then the answers to that question would provide additional value to the readers. This is the kind of mindset. Let me give you an example. Remember, like what I talked to you earlier before, that people like they always think like, oh, I'm the only one having this problem. So if you can kind of get your audience to share some of the struggles, that is actually very valuable to other people, just as a validation that they're not the only one. Nobody wants to be the only one. Nobody wants to be the stupid person. So if you can share something in your post where you share like a certain struggle you went through, and you can show that you were like making silly beginner mistakes, you can ask a question about like, hey, is there a silly story or a silly mistake that you made in the past that now makes perfect sense to you? Because you putting yourself down by showing that you're actually like vulnerable, you make mistakes like everyone else, people are way more likely to share. And people are way more likely to actually read the comment section, because if everyone thinks like I would never have this, and then they suddenly start reading the comment section and realize, wow, everyone seems to have some struggles. And then once they see a couple of people sharing this, it's so much easier to then feel like, hey, this is a safe space. I can share my struggles too in the comment section. And that's how you actually generate genuine engagement that also, as a side effect, boosts the algorithm. But it also adds value for everyone else in the community, in your audience, to read the comment section. And the fifth tip is you need to be consistent in order to build trust. Sometimes people feel like they can get a little bit of burnout when they're creating content on LinkedIn. It feels kind of like overwhelming. And that often comes when people have this kind of drive for perfectionism. They feel like I have to write this perfect post. I have to write daily content. And then this amount of pressure they're putting themselves onto really creates stress. And what often happens is someone who consistently shares content for a couple of days, weeks, maybe like a month or two, and then eventually the engagement dies down because they just feel burnout, they feel exhausted. And I'm going to share with you like a different way of looking at this, how you can avoid this, and how you can still be consistent. Because consistency is actually about something else. It's about creating trust that you're not going anywhere. A lot of people have this unspoken anxiety that when they meet someone, like have a good connection, the person might disappear. And when you're like on a social media platform, it's just the same way with consistency. Like they put trust in you and say, wow, this is really valuable content. They follow you, and then you kind of disappear. And then like after like maybe a couple of months, maybe you start posting something promotional, and if you betrayed. And it's like, if you focus more on really embracing this imperfect part of yourself and sharing genuine stories, it's actually not that difficult creating content, because if you can let go of this perfectionism, it only takes 10% of the effort to creating a piece of content on LinkedIn. And then it's way more easy to be consistent. And one thing I can also really recommend is try to create content in bulk and then schedule it. And so one thing I like to do is I like to create, let's say 10 pieces of content, and then I'm going to schedule at least one post every week. Let's say every Monday at 9 a.m. I sit down in the afternoon, create a 10 piece of content, and schedule one every Monday. That means, let's say for 10 to 12 weeks. That means I've already like for the next 3 months, if something happens, I break my leg, I have to go to the hospital, I lie in a coma, but my content is still going to be there on a daily basis. But it took me just like one day to create content for like 3 months. And of course, you can create more content if you have the time and the means, but really make sure that you are having some consistent content. And what I would recommend is really like try this method, what I just told you, like create like schedule one piece of content once a week. And if you have more content, you can add like maybe a post on Wednesday or on Friday or on every other day if you just have the means. But try to have at least like a buffer of a few months of content scheduled up. LinkedIn is a really cool scheduling tool. You can check out this video. Where is it? Up here, where I can show you how to walk you through the process of scheduling some content on LinkedIn. But it really helps you build trust with your audience. And it's one of the most important things, that they feel you're going to be there for the long run. It's safe to follow you. And you're consistently sharing the valuable content. You're not suddenly like interrupting them and turning all salesy and promote a cryptocurrency coin or something like this. You're there for the long run, long term, helping them authentically, genuinely, no strings attached. When you have this mindset and you're imagining someone you genuinely want to help while you are creating your content, while you're writing a script, while you're writing a LinkedIn post, and you really, every time you feel uncomfortable, you're like, yeah, should I share this? Like someone is going to steal this idea. Breathe it out, let it go. It might take a while, but if you can actually like really no strings, no holding back, put everything into your content. Then, by the way, that doesn't mean you have to like write a book in every post. You can just share one tip, but there is no holding back for that one tip or one fact. You will naturally create genuine content people feel connected with. If you're sharing your own vulnerability, your own struggles, your own difficulties in life and business, you humanize yourself. People will sense it, and they will feel more comfortable engaging in the comment section. They will feel more comfortable connecting with you, sending you a message, making an inquiry to work with you. And that generally has like a proven track record to get you way better results in the long run, and is content that actually works if you want to run a business. Now, if you want to learn more about LinkedIn, you can check out my other videos. Channel is down below. You can also, of course, subscribe. I try to make a lot of good LinkedIn videos that are really helpful. Also, no strings attached. Write me a comment with your LinkedIn questions down in the comment section. Or you can download my free LinkedIn hashtag guide, or I even have like a paid training program, my LinkedIn Accelerator program, which is kind of like my A to Z system for how to build a complete content strategy, including going through the different content types and how to create really genuine content. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.